Slurf me up, yes. Slurf. uh, how cool is that? Look at that. Amazing, huh? I have been saying break this trend line, find support, and we're off. So it's quite exciting. I'm pretty excited about this because I'm in a really good position, a leverage position. So, and this is really exciting. I'm really excited about Slerf. I don't really have anything to say. Look at it. It's amazing. There's nothing to say. Slerf is going to the moon. Yeah, I'm well. All right, so let's start with Slerf. Why not? Let's start with Slerf because Slerf is the most exciting token right now. All right, so we have this bump and run idea that's completely in play right now, right? And let me just get rid of this indicator. And I've explained about this idea before. Let me show you the image. Oh, I don't have it here. Let me find the image again. So it's called the bump and run reversal pattern. And I'll show you the image. Now I've talked about this in my previous live streams. And the problem with the images that I find on the net is always a reversal to the downside. It's hard to find one with a reversal to the upside. Okay, they're not very good images. This might be one. Yeah, this is one. Okay, is that the one? Yeah, this is it. Got it. So this is basically what we're looking at right now. And for those who haven't seen my videos before, I've been talking about this pattern for a while. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've been talking about Slerf for a while because I like Slerf. I've got a position in Slerf. And then if you go into my crypto charting playlist, see that? Slerf bump and run bullish reversal pattern forming 4 days ago. See that? So I already talked about this pattern forming on a much steeper trend line, which is what this is. And then here you see where we were. I was talking about how the bump line had been broken and now we're coming into the lead line. And I was talking about what I wanted to see to break this line, and I was trying to explain it. So I'm just going to go over that one more time now. This is the idea. So you have a lead-in trend line, which is this outer line, this outer yellow line. Then you have the bump line, and the bump line basically takes the price away from the lead-in line. Eventually what happens is you break the bump line. Okay, so on this example in this image, you can see it happens quite late. This one is this example is a very easy to trade because the price never comes back after you get the break here. It never comes back. This is a very easy trade. So it breaks, back tests, but it never comes back to the entry. It's a very easy trade this was on this chart. Okay. But when you're looking at Slerf, it was actually a little bit more tricky. Why? Because we broke that line quite early. Yeah. So as we were forming this bump, and so effectively what was happening was we were bouncing. We bounced, and that was the bump. And we formed this steep trend line. We broke it, tried to get back to the leading line, and then we had a little dump. We had a little dump, made a new low, tried to get back up, made a new low. And so it's quite difficult to trade this because any swing failure would have been stopped out. Okay, and actually it looked quite weak when we were finally getting to this lower point. So on my stream a couple of days ago, I took an entry and I explained my entry. Effectively what my entry was an SR flip off this lower pivot. Okay, and I explained what I was doing online on my stream. As soon as I saw that we had back tested this pivot line, I took a long. Okay, I took a long, and my invalidation was, I had a wide invalidation to begin with, but my invalidation, I tightened it up. Okay, and that's the trade. Now that was a speculative long. Why? Because, you know, we're still at the lows, the price is still looking a little bit weak, and you can always lose that trend line and go down. Like you can always go up to this leading trend line and fall right back down. It could always happen. Yeah, you always have to contemplate the downside and the upside. And what I did is I actually posted that on Twitter. I'll show you, just so you can see that. I was just trying to, there you go, you see that? Okay. That was my trade plan. Okay. So I took the trade. I was telling everyone I was taking my trade. And so what I've done is I've added to my trade. So I haven't taken profit yet. And it was quite miserable yesterday because it came back down. It came back down underneath this point, which was quite miserable. But as soon as it came back down and above this SR flip, I added to my trade. So my position's a little bit higher up. And now we've seen a little bit of an explosion to the upside. So effectively now what you have a very clear, easy invalidation for this trade. Okay, so this is the beginning of the trade. This isn't the end. We've only just broken out from this lead-in line, and the target for a bump and run trade, now this doesn't really give you the target, okay, but it does explain the back test. So there's always a back test when you have a breakout. See that? And then the price starts to go up. But this is not really a great example. Let me see if I can find another example actually. I'm looking, hold on. Maybe this one. Let me see this one. No, they don't give you the targets. All right. I'll do one for the reverse, actually. I've got an example for the downside. So this is exactly the same, but in reverse. No, it isn't. That was the same image. Copy image. This is the same idea, but in reverse. And so what you can see is that after you break the lead-in line, you're trying to target where the trend began. Yeah, this is quite impulsive, and this goes all the way down to there. And this is the daily time frame. Yeah, so it's quite a high time frame, and we're going to have to be a little bit patient with this trade. Okay, it's already been quite impulsive. Yeah, you see these greens, that's quite impulsive. That's what we want to see, but we obviously want to see continuation, and we need to see higher highs at the moment. Are we seeing higher highs? Yeah, we are. Just see that? That's a higher high there. Only just. So So we've made a lower low here, we've made a higher high there. We need to make a higher low here, and we need continuation. But there's also something else that I'm looking at. And so even though we're forming a bump and run pattern, there's also another bullish pattern forming, and you can kind of see it. An inverse head and shoulders. You see that? So we have a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders forming. We need to break that neckline to the upside. Okay, that needs to happen. We can't just stop here, we have to go. Okay, so this is what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting for the price now to come back underneath this pivot that we've just put in, and certainly not back underneath this SR flip that I have here. Okay, that would be incorrect price action for this kind of bullish idea, which is a bump and run reversal pattern to the upside, and potentially looking at it now forming some sort of inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. Okay, so there are some very clear, there's no hopium here. If you get invalidated, you get invalidated. Every idea, every trading idea can get invalidated. Every pattern can become invalidated. Don't just think that because we formed this really nice bump and run pattern and now we're forming a nice inverse head and shoulders that this is going to go to the moon. If you suddenly see your idea invalidated, the pattern is invalidated. Every pattern can be invalidated. Even though it's a higher probability, but you have to remember that right now, as always, Bitcoin controls the market. So God knows what's going to happen in the future. So you have to have a clear invalidation of when this trade goes wrong. And for me, now, I don't want to see this low taken. Okay, I would be out of the trade if that happened. Yeah, you go out of the trade. If it comes back, you're back in the trade. Unfortunately, that's just trading for you. But the problem with being the best thing about being invalidated is that you're protecting yourself against this. You know, that's why you have invalidations, because for the reasons that you don't know, the price could always go down. Yeah, but that's why you have an invalidation. So right now, according to what I'm seeing, it's looking quite healthy. Yeah, this is quite a bullish impulse. There's good volume. Look at that volume coming in. That's kind of what you want to see. The pullback, you want to see decrease in volume, which is what we're seeing at the moment. Yeah, do you see there's a slight decrease in volume in the pullback? And we want to see a little correction here, and then we want to see the next impulse. And actually what we want to see is a real impulse. We want to see like mega impulse now. We don't just want to see a mini impulse. What we want to see is a little bit of FOMO. And also what we want to see is we want to see some of these shorts get squeezed. And so we have a really important pivot here. And I want to see what happens when the price comes to this pivot. Because I'm hoping that we get a bit of a squeeze to the upside. So I'll keep an eye on that pivot. I'll call it SFP, just in case we have a swing failure pattern. Good morning, Alpi UK. Yeah, TRVL is back on track, as is all of crypto. Yeah, so I'm pretty hyped about this. I'm not quite sure how far this is going to go. So I'm waiting for some volume, some real volume. If you look at this whole volume profile, you can see it's actually still relatively low. Yeah, and I want to see volume like this come in, big volume. That's what I'm really looking forward to. I want to see big volume increasing. I want to see volume, and I want to see the price push up. All right, that's going to give me confidence to hold on to this trade longer than I would normally. Otherwise, the problem is you're going to get up to resistance levels, and if you don't see the volume that we need, we could get another big pullback. It's not necessarily a problem, but I think it's going to be more difficult to hold for longer if we don't see an increase in volume. Okay, and when I look at the HTX chart, you see I'm not seeing the increase in volume yet. Okay, should I have a look at radium? Have a look at radium as well. Yeah, I'm not getting the yet. I'm not saying it's not going to come. I'm just saying it's not yet there. How do I full screen this? So, while I'm here, let me just update all of this as well, just to get updated information. Delete all this rubbish. Where's this rubbish? Get rid of all this. Probably previous analysis. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let me do a volume profile on this to see if there's any significant changes here. Okay, so you can see the value area low is slightly lower now. So we are back in the value area, which is exactly what you want to see. You want to see the price get back into the value area. On radium, the point of control is still in the highs. So there's going to be a little bit of resistance at that level. So you have to bear that in mind. And we also have a little bit of a high volume node here. I'll show you. So this is on radium. And that kind of slightly corresponds with the other charts. Now I'm going to also put something in. I'm going to put an anchored VWAP from the beginning, if I can find it. There it is, anchored VWAP. I'm going to do that from the launch. And also you can see the anchored VWAP is about 70 cents on radium. I'm not seeing much volume on radium, you know, like I can't pretend that the volume is not high. Yeah, you look at the volume profile. What we want to now see is volume. We have to see volume. You can't just have a low volume rise. We need to see increasing volume on this move up. Okay, it's really important to see volume increase as the price ascends. Okay, so I'm not seeing that yet on radium. If I go back to my HTX, we're kind of similarly in the same situation. We're not seeing a massive increase in volume yet. I'm not concerned just yet. Okay, but I will start to get concerned as we start hitting higher prices if we still don't see increases in volume. All right, and let's just see, because at the moment we're looking at an inverse head and shoulders. Often with the breakout you do see an increase in volume. I'm going to update the volume profile on HTX. I can see the value area high is slightly lower, not by much. Okay, and the point of control, as you can see, is now in the low of this volume range. I explained in my previous streams that when you see the value area move down, when you see the point of control shift from the high of the range to the low of the range, that's really bullish. So we're getting bullish volume put into this whole range. The point of control coming to the lows of the range is extremely bullish, and the fact that we're trading above the point of control now is bullish too. Okay, so we don't necessarily now want to see the price come back underneath the point of control. At the very least, we want to see the point of control hold the price as support if we do go down to test it one more time. Okay, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping we just explode, but you know, No one can predict the future. No one knows what's going to happen. We have this anchored VWAP on HTX is coming in about 61 cents. And then we have this high volume node at about 59 cents. Okay. Potentially, if and when the price does get up to about 59 cents, the anchored VWAP and the high volume node will align up. Okay. Potentially, what I'm thinking is there's going to be quite strong resistance there. And even though the golden pocket is higher up, you know, that's going to be, there's definitely a higher level fib level, higher time frame fib level there, the 382. There's going to be a little bit of resistance there. There's going to be volume resistance. There's going to be this anchored VWAP. There's going to be this 382, roughly around 59 cents. So I'm thinking that's probably going to be a big resistance. And then obviously, as you can see, we have this 236 to contend with. But I'm hoping that we squeeze through the 236. That's what I'm hoping. We have to see what happens. If we can get volume coming in, and hopefully we can squeeze through the 236 and head all the way through to the 382, which I think if anyone is looking to cover their position, that will be a good place to cover their position, because you're coming into a high volume node and you're coming into some higher time frame resistance levels, roughly about 59 cents, I think. If I go back to Bybit, now Bybit is my chart of choice. Because I like to see what the traders are doing. Yeah, I'm not really interested in what spot is doing. And then if I do exactly the same thing on Bybit, volume levels. So you'll see this high volume node. Actually, let me just update the volume. No change. Value area high is slightly lower. No real change. Let me see that anchored VWAP on this. This is going to be slightly different, I know. Yeah, you see the anchored VWAP is much higher. Now you know, there's a lot of like varying lines, and that's the trouble. Different exchanges say different things. But basically, see on this one, it's slightly different. Let me just go back to HTX. Why is it different? Okay, that's why. Because I've taken it from the top. Let me take it from the lower one, actually. Let me take it to this one. This might be better. So that high volume node is coming to the 50%. Yeah, you see, so you also have this 382 to contend with. I hope we squeeze through that and go to the high volume node at about 58 cents. Let's see. Let's see what happens. On Bybit, when I have a look at Bybit, 58 cents. And yeah, you've got this 382 there. Let's see what happens. Maybe we squeeze, maybe we don't. I still think a good place for resistance is going to be there. Somewhere there. If we can impulse up there, that would be really good. And then if you look at this inverse head and shoulders pattern, and you just do you just target the head. Let me see. Kind of roughly, if it completes, it roughly gets us to that area of interest, which is about 58 cents. If you complete this inverse head and shoulders idea, we can break out now. squeeze up all the way up with a bit of volume and get to about there. It's kind of my target at the moment, roughly. But obviously, when we get closer, we'll have to see what happens. Yeah. And that will get us all the way up past this weekly open. And so when I'm looking at the candles now, that's quite interesting too. So let's have a look at the candles. You can see we've got a little bit of a reversal pattern here on the daily candle structure. We have this whole thing is a reversal pattern. This is looking quite healthy for a bottom. And then when you compare that to the weekly candles, we had this disastrous red candle. And I'm wondering now if we can fill all the way up to the bottom of this weekly low, which is roughly where I'm kind of targeting. It's about 50. This is coming in at about 56 cents, somewhere up to between 56 and 58 cents. That's kind of where I'm targeting with this move in the first instance. And then we have to see what happens. Okay. And while I think it's possible that we fill this whole lead-in line all the way up to the top, I think that's very possible. You just got to be aware that we're still, the momentum is still to the downside. And that's what's really on my mind at the moment, the momentum. And so when you look at the momentum, you look at the moving averages. You see like the 200 moving average on this 1 hour chart. You see how steep it is to the downside. See that? So even if we are able to impulse beyond that momentum, which is what I want to see. I want to see a little bit of an impulse to get us right into those higher levels. I'm not expecting it to continue without a pullback because of the momentum still being to the downside. I want to see this momentum turned. And so for that to happen, you need the price to expand upwards, hopefully in an impulsive way. And then, you'll be looking for some kind of correction where we can turn the momentum for the next impulse. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And so that's why you're looking at higher levels of resistance where you could cover or you could take profit and look to re-add as the price comes back into support. The question is going to be where and when. Okay, the where, we just have to see how the price reacts to higher time frame levels, because this derivatives are traded on this, so we could get a squeeze up. None of this is squeezing. Yeah, see, none of this price action is a squeeze because our pivot of interest is here. So if you're in a short and you're trailing your stop, that's where you're going to have your liquidity at market. So you have higher market buyers there. And what we need to do is we need to squeeze that liquidity. And then the next one is going to be up here. We want to squeeze that liquidity. And let's see how far we can get. All right. So let me just mark that one up as well. There. All right, I've got to copy it. All right. So that's Slerf right now. Any questions on Slerf? Anyone interested in asking something, or anyone have any ideas? Could you enter now? It's a good question. I mean, it was always better to enter down here, because of the invalidation. So the problem with entering now is, what's your invalidation? You'd have to have a really wide invalidation. It almost makes the trade not worthwhile. On a wider invalidation like that, you could potentially get a 1-to-2 ratio. The difficulty is the invalidation. So I think it is possible to enter now, but I think what you want to see now is a little flip of that high. Yeah, if you can flip, if we can go up and flip that level into support, yeah, and then maybe push up to squeeze this pivot, you could have an entry. Yeah, there could be an entry here, but you have to wait for a little flip. You need to see a little SR flip. That will give you an invalidation, and then maybe you could enter on the breakout to push right up to as far as it can go. I'm looking at about 58 cents or 60 cents. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. Hopefully we can get a little bit of FOMO and a little bit of short squeezing to get us up to those levels. Okay, so I don't know if I would just blindly enter now because we are into resistance. But if we do manage to flip this pivot into support, then you're not buying into resistance, you're buying on support, which is what you want to do. And then you have a much tighter invalidation, because if you go up and it doesn't work and fall back down, then you have a failed pattern. The failed pattern on this instance would be the inverse head and shoulders. You're still in a bump and run. Yeah, the bump and run is still valid as long as we don't take out these lows, you know, because this could still do that. You know, you could still be seeing some kind of ABC here of the first wave, and you can still see another leg up. So as far as I'm concerned, this bump and run is still valid, and I like this impulsiveness here. I just now want to see a massive increase in volume. Okay, I want to see that. That's going to give me confidence to hold for longer and maybe even add more to my position, because if you see volume, you can add to your position. It'll bring your entry higher, but at least you have volume. At least your entry is still under the volume that came in. Yeah, and that's going to give me confidence. I don't like low volume rises because I know that if there's a big take profit, the price could easily fall back. If someone decides they just want to take profit at market, the price could easily fall back. All right, so that's my Slerf update. I hope that helps. Any questions? Anyone?